I've always worked hard in my life. Every brick of that house I laid with my own hands. It was my pride, my refuge, the home of my family. I never imagined that the place I built with sweat and sacrifice would also become the stage of the greatest pain of my life. I gave my house to my own son, and weeks later, he threw me out onto the street. But what I did next, no one expected. It all started a few months ago. I was already retired. My children were grown up, living their lives. My wife and I, we were alone in that big house. We felt it was time to make a decision about our future. Sell the house or start sharing it with our children and grandchildren. We talked, we argued, but nothing was decided until one day my wife was struck by a sudden illness. She was gone before we could even react. Grief overwhelmed me and I didn't feel strong enough to deal with anything. So I locked myself in my study, hoping the pain would go away. But I didn't realize how much time was passing. It wasn't until my daughter knocked on the door that I came back to reality. "Dad, are you all right? You haven't left that room for 3 days." Her face was full of concern, and that hurt me even more. I felt like a bad father, grandfather. How could I let so much time pass without thinking about them? I opened the door, hugged her, and told her it was just grief. "Your mother and I, we were so happy together, it's hard to imagine life without her." She understood. She helped me clean up a bit. Then she left, promising to return that evening with my son and his wife, as well as my other grandchildren. When they arrived, the atmosphere was heavy with emotion. There were tears, memories, and a lot of silence. The four of us, each in our own world, couldn't find the right words to speak, and that's when my son broke the silence. "Dad, I know this must be very difficult for you, but you can't stay alone in that house. You need help?" I nodded, grateful for his support. And at that moment, his wife spoke up. "Why don't you come live with us? We have a spare room and it'll be temporary." I declined the offer politely. "Thank you for the invitation, but I prefer to stay in my own home for now." But my son insisted. "No, Dad, it's better this way. You'll be alone and I'm sure you're not able to take care of all those bills right now." I hesitated, feeling like a burden, but eventually agreed. "All right, we'll move in tomorrow." They were thrilled. They helped me pack my things, promising to make the transition easier for me. And the next day, we were ready. They arrived to pick me up early in the morning. My son, his wife, and my grandson were there. "Come on, Grandpa, let's go." My granddaughter came in later with some boxes. "Sorry, I couldn't get up earlier." "It's okay, honey," her mother said. "We're just leaving." And when we were finally settled in, my son spoke up. "Dad, I'm going to fix the guest room. It's going to be perfect for you. You can just live there." I thanked him, but deep down I was a little uncomfortable. I was living in their house again, just like when I took care of my children. But I ignored it. After all, I was grieving the loss of my wife and needed support. As days went by, I noticed strange looks and comments from my neighbors. They kicked the old man out of his own house to make room for the young people. No one knew the truth. They only saw my son driving up in a luxury car and thought I was a burden to him. But what hurt the most was my daughter's comment. "Well, you're in luck, Dad. Your son is doing well and he doesn't mind taking care of you." Her words echoed in my ears. Was I really just a financial burden? Afraid of confirming my fears, I pretended I hadn't heard her. One evening, my son approached me. "Dad, I need to talk to you." "What's up?" "Well, this house is getting too small. We're planning to move into a bigger place. Would you mind moving back into your house?" Before I could reply, his wife added, "With all due respect, sir, it'll be better for everyone. We'll be free to do whatever we want and you can keep living in your house as if nothing happened." I felt betrayed. "But what about the arrangement we made? I'm supposed to live with you until—" "Oh, you're right," my son interrupted me. "But we've already started looking for a new house. We can't wait much longer, so you better move back in a few days." I kept quiet. How could I argue? Their plans had nothing to do with me, so I moved back into my house. It was empty, just as I had left it, but it was my house, and that gave me strength to start putting my life back in order. I fixed the garden, cleaned the rooms, and slowly the pain of losing my wife lessened. Days turned into weeks, and one Sunday afternoon, I decided to bake one of my wife's traditional apple pies. The smell spread throughout the neighborhood, and it wasn't long before my children arrived. I was happy to see them, but I didn't expect what came next. As they entered, my son raised his voice. "Dad, this is my house now. Let's talk about something else." The words cut deeper than any knife. The room fell silent. My grandson stared at me, not understanding why I stayed quiet. I swallowed my pain, lowered my head, and left the table with trembling hands. But that was only the beginning. The rules he imposed on me afterward would break my heart even more. Little by little, I stopped being the father of the house and became just a guest. "Don't leave your things here, Dad. Don't stay up late." Every sentence diminished me, as if I were an intruder in the very home I built. My daughter stopped visiting, saying she couldn't bear to see me treated that way. The laughter that once filled our home turned into silence. Until one day, I came back from the market and found that my key no longer opened the door. The lock had been changed. My daughter-in-law looked at me coldly and said, "Only my husband has the key now." The way she called me "sir" hurt even more than the locked door. I sat on the sidewalk with the groceries in my lap as night fell, realizing I no longer had the right to enter my own home. But that night on the street changed something inside me forever. I slept outside, under the cold sky for the first time in 40 years. The wind stung my face, and the hard ground reminded me of what I had lost. Neighbors passed by, whispering, but no one came closer. Shame and sadness consumed me. But deep down, anger gave me strength. I thought of my wife, who used to say, "Our house is our castle." And there I was, the king dethroned, watching from the curb. And the next morning, I decided I would not cry anymore. I would act. I went to a lawyer. Patiently, he listened to my story and shook his head in disbelief. Together, we found the flaws in the rushed paperwork. My daughter and sister stood by my side, offering silent support. I stayed quiet toward my son, letting him believe he had won. But inside, I was gathering strength. And when the day of the confrontation arrived, the look on his face was something I will never forget. At the notary's office, my son arrived, smiling, confident, until he saw me sitting beside the lawyer. His smile vanished instantly. "You cannot strip your father of the right to live in his own house," the lawyer declared firmly. The silence in that office was deafening. For the first time, my son had no words. And what I told him as I handed him a single key silenced the entire room. I didn't humiliate him. I didn't shout. I simply said, "This door will always be open when you learn the value of respect." But the greatest twist came days later when he returned alone, without his wife. He brought no gifts, no luxury, only tears and an apology. I embraced him in silence because deep down he was still my boy. And I realized then, a house can be taken, but dignity cannot. It is the foundation that keeps the doors of the heart forever open. And that is the legacy I want to leave. Respect is worth more than any inheritance.